What's going on? It's your boy Dalton from the Petrol List, and welcome. Sorry, the video's a little bit late. I went to my very first actual in-person Formula One race, and let me tell you, I gained new perspective on what Formula One is to many people. The backstory, I've been going to racetracks and driving on racetracks and all that kind of stuff for a very long time. Started going to racetracks when I was in high school. Went to like dirt tracks and stuff when I was in college, and then I've been doing autocross and track days and racing cars and all that kind of stuff on and off for a very long time. And so when it came time to decide to go to a Formula One race, it was like, oh, okay, just know the racetrack. And I figured, from my perspective, I could get all the information and stuff that I needed about Formula One from just watching it on TV and kind of intermixing my own personal experience and all that kind of stuff. Because driving is driving, albeit Formula One is a lot faster on a racetrack and, in general, than I'll probably ever travel, thankfully. But I learned that Formula One is a lot more than that. It is so much more. You see, I've been coming at it from purely a driver's perspective, a technical perspective, an oversteer versus understeer, and aerodynamics and power to weight ratio and all that kind of stuff. And I tend to geek out on it. That's what I actually enjoy doing, and I don't think that's going to change too much, given the fact that I finally went to one of the races. But what I did learn is that these guys are rock stars. Like I knew inherently, just based on the kind of money and the contracts and all that kind of stuff. I knew, these guys are, famous, they're well paid, they're like, professional footballers or soccer players or American footballers or NBA, NFL, that kind of stuff. I knew that they were at that level. I didn't know that that Lewis Hamilton was like John Bon Jovi, in his heyday. The Formula One race, it was like a race, but also a festival. Sting played, and what they called the super stage. My wife and I, we walked over to the super stage. We were kind of as close as we could get to it. It was like 7 o'clock. The show was going to start at like 7:30 or 7:45, and we got like I feel like it was a half mile away from the actual stage itself, and that is about as far as we felt like, as close as we felt like going. Because once you got into it, it was just like a sea of people. And I could tell already that the closest that we were going to get to Sting, he would have been like a speck, tiny little speck on the stage. And then we'd have been looking at the big screen, which was probably the height of like a 3-story house. But from our perspective, it looked like an iPhone screen. And you were like, you know what, screw it. We're not going to do that. But the reason I tell that story is just perspective. And by the time, Sting and Eminem are the sideshow, and these drivers are the main event, that's pretty daggone astounding. And, there's scantily clad women and dudes with crazy hats, and everybody had a jersey or, some supporting colors, and it really was like music festival vibes, and with the race mixed in. And then we got to see the driver, the crowd engagement. It's where they put the drivers on a smaller stage than the super stage, and you can actually like see the drivers, and they're like talking and doing the quick interview. I almost said Russell Wilson. George Russell kicked a football into the crowd. The crowd, went crazy, clamoring to get the football. And then it was posted online, and then my wife and I were like, hey, we actually saw that in real life. That was pretty cool. But if you can go to a Formula One race, for me, it's highly, highly recommended. Now, from what I understand, the Circuit of the Americas race was just a little bit peculiar in that there was no trackside commentary. I found that a little bit weird. Luckily, one of the guys next to us, it was a festival environment, just gave us some earphones, and we're kind of listening in so we could hear what was going on. But the earphones were extremely expensive. I didn't even know how expensive they were until we were driving home. And the fact that the guy just handed them over to us, it shows you how festive the atmosphere was. Oh, and another thing that I learned is that Formula One fans in person are a lot nicer than Formula One fans and online. There were, Norris fans and Max Verstappen fans and Hamilton fans and, just fans of drivers in general. But they weren't really disparaging to one another. Everyone was kind of like just going along to get along. And yeah, you could hear some sidebar conversations like, oh, I'm glad Verstappen didn't win, or I'm glad Norris didn't win, or, look at Lewis Hamilton spinning off the track, or, but people are allowed to have those conversations. It's just, but nobody was like pointing at people and saying, my gosh, you idiot, you're stupid. How can you think that this driver's any good? I think everyone, if you can, do the general admission and the Coda track, the points of view, like the lines of sight, you could see all over the racetrack. And I did also learn one more thing about myself. I actually had to go back home and watch the race on a screen so I could actually pick apart, some of the details. In person, I was useless. I was just, I'm drinking beer and I'm looking around, and, ADD was going crazy. I enjoyed myself, and obviously I could see who was in the lead and all that kind of stuff, but I was not able to do my in the weeds detailed analysis of the race, partially because there was no commentary, but the other part is because I was just engulfed in this, huge party atmosphere, and I was just kind of enjoying it, moment by moment, and then I had to watch it when I got back. Racetracks are huge. I knew that. Coda is no different. It is one of the largest racetracks I've been to. Freaking ginormous. I think we walked 10 or 15,000, somewhere between 10 and 15,000 steps per day, that's putting on some mileage, man. So if you want to lose some weight, just, go to Formula One races and get general admission and wander around in the hot sun. You'll definitely, shed some pounds. Now, okay, I got to talk about the race. I'm going to talk about the race just real quick, because I spent 8 minutes talking about what it was like being at a real Formula One race, and I don't think I did it justice. It is just it is a wild experience, and those drivers, they are raking in the crowd engagement. One guy had been waiting for, Lewis Hamilton or, whatever, since like 4:00 in the morning. I don't even think the gates opened until like 7. So how this guy got in at 4:00 in the morning, I have no idea. We'll just leave it there. But Lewis Hamilton signed his arm, and then the guy went and got a tattoo of Lewis Hamilton's autograph on his arm. I don't know that I would. I was being polite. I know for a fact I would never do that. But people do it, and that is just proof that, my gosh, these guys really are rock stars out there. And here I am just judging people on their driving. How foolish was that? They're both great drivers. How silly of me. How silly of me. Anyway, I will keep doing that. Lando Norris, does he deserve to win the championship this year? I do not think so, because the number of times that he has given up lap 1, turn 1 is that's not championship material, not against other drivers who are just so good. Leclerc, lap 1, turn 1, as Max Verstappen was pushing Norris out to the outside and going to the inside, Leclerc saw his opportunity to go from 4th place to 1st place, and my guy never looked back after that. And the Ferraris were just beastly machines, and I think toward the end of the race it was like a 10 to 15 second lead. Was it a maybe a 10-second lead that Leclerc had on everyone else. And Sainz finally muscled his way up to second place. It was a beautiful Ferrari 1-2 finish. And then for about 15 laps or so, it was exciting to watch, but also mind-numbing to watch as Norris tried to pass Max Verstappen with the fastest car, with a much superior car to Max Verstappen. And the thing that I found maddening is he kept trying to do the same thing over and over again. And I think he was a little bit on the polite side. Now, I know that both Max Verstappen and Lando Norris had it in their mind that if they crashed, then Leclerc would, take first. They would have 0 points, and that would put Leclerc kind of right there next to Lando Norris in terms of the points. And I think Leclerc is a much more fierce rival, when it comes to championship stuff. And I think, perhaps they were battling. I don't want to say politely because they were racing, but they did not crash like in the Austrian GP. I don't think it was in anyone's best interest to do so. The other thing I have to give it to George Russell. He raced a really great race. Did he start from the pits? I think he started from the pits, and it ended in 6th or 7th. I don't have my notes right in front of me. And then I got to say the bad luck. Oh, the bad luck of the weekend definitely went to Lewis Hamilton. And also, rumor has it that, how they had to rebuild George Russell's car, and they gave him the Singapore upgrades as opposed to the upgrades that they had planned to bring to Dakota. Well, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton both crashed at the same place. Unfortunately for Hamilton, he crashed during race day. George Russell crashed the day before, and they were able to put his car back together. But from what I understand, Lewis Hamilton actually wanted them to retrofit his car with the older upgrades because the new upgrades just weren't freaking working. And we saw how that happened, how that turned out on lap 3. So I'm not really going to go in on Mercedes and what are you guys doing with their car or with your car? But I am going to say, Mercedes, what are you doing with your car? I mean, you have 2 phenomenal drivers and they are just having a beast of a time keeping that car on the road. It's not normal. It's not right for a team of your caliber. Let's move on to Ferrari and their upgrades or lack thereof. Ferrari just said, you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And guess what that yielded them? Yeah, a 1-2 finish. So had to talk about the Formula One race experience. My gosh, it was incredible. And, like I said, I've been to other tracks. I've been to the Silverstone Museum, but nothing really beats understanding what the actual race day is like during the race weekend. Again, it was absolutely bonkers in terms of just the festival atmosphere. I would have thought I was at a 3-day concert, and I could see how that could get addicting to a driver. I mean, you're the star of the show. Every week, you're going to a huge old music festival, and you're the man, or the men. You're the mans. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. All right, I have been rambling for 15 minutes and 35 seconds. Thanks for watching. I have been Dalton. This has been the Petrol List, and you have been great. I'm out. I'll see you next week.